Ndewono. I was telling Sabine earlier that what I had to say has nothing to do with what the other members of the panel were saying, but I think I was wrong. Everything is connected to everything else. So my topic is Igbo sex. I see it as a cultural history of the discovery, discourse, and domains of intimacy among the Igbo. I wrote my doctoral dissertation in psychoanalytic theory, Lacanian psychoanalytic theory, and it occurred to me that almost every important tradition in the world has a map of the people's sexual history. Because there are actually two things that make a great civilization. It is where the people build their toilet and how they make love. So, my Igbo people have no
at home.
Archaeology of sex, except the stories we drop here and there. And you go to Equiano, you find one. You go to Achebe, you find one. And you go to my grandmother, you find another. So I thought it is about time we start trying to get the idea a bit clearer. Now that I'm not sure if my kids will ever go home from United States. Okay, so a preamble here with an Igbo proverb, which I'm sure the older ones among us must know. Ndị Igbo na-asị, nwoke obiọma na-afụcha ọtụ aja.
For you.
That was why I changed my name from Obioma to Obiwu. So, nwoke obiọma na-afụcha ọtụ aja. A kind-hearted man blows out sand from the vagina. A kind-hearted man blows out sand from the vagina. Well, luckily for me, I have, as I told you, I have 3 daughters. Luckily for me, my kids don't play in the sand anymore. They play in the US. But I played in the sand, so it was easy to know how that happens. So a problem in lieu of an introduction. The part of this research actually started as a serious business. The controversy that followed the 5-part Nollywood movie, Adure Adambano, has thrust the infamous taboo surrounding Igbo sex to the fore of popular discourse among a section of Nigeria's culture warriors like me. Some of the criticisms against the absence of sex and sexual practices in Nigerian literature are, by extension, a critique of 20th century Igbo cultural production as a dominant phenomenon in African discourses. In other words, before Nollywood, Igbo sex was one of the best kept secrets in post-colonial Nigeria. Today, Nollywood has led the sex genie out of the historical closet. Beyond the consequent angst, protests, and recriminations, this presentation explores the discovery of sex among the Igbo, its variable discourses, as well as the domains of its practices. In this age of blatant abuse of the female image in Nigerian hip-hop music and social media, wanton defacement of the woman among Nigerian extremist religious circles like Boko Haram, and high divorce and murder rates among Nigerian American marriages. I pray to God I don't have to kill my wife.
Amen.
It scares me when I see people I know killing their wives in the US. Never happened in my father's time.
Happened in your time.
I propose for immediate return to the social norms and councils that have preserved the sanctity of women and motherhood in Igbo customs for generations by revisiting specific mores and conventions like the menstrual cycle, rituals, mbembe cleansing rites, and other boundaries of sex, sexuality, and gender. My presentation attempts a rememory of traditions and practices that invasive Western civilization, migration and exile seem to be in a hurry to elide and alienate. This study draws extensively from archival, Biafran ballads, literary, Ekweana and Achebe, and other textual sources, movies, folklore, songs. Don't worry, I won't be going into all that. This is the beginning of a long research. I expect perhaps to come back here in 2 years with the book. I have as some of my aides, at least 5 big Igbo female nurses in the United States. These days, I never knew women can talk to me openly about those things until now. So there is a reward in research. The discovery of sex among the Igbo. Now, I have a second voice. Apart from my own voice as a researcher, I will be using this narrator, the voice of a generic boy, to intervene to say some things perhaps I could not say in my own voice. A little boy and a little girl on a guava tree. The sight my eyes had seen, my mind could not unsee. The first time he saw it, they were perched on a guava tree, she above him. He could not find the words to say what he saw, having suddenly swallowed his own tongue. He knew then and forever that they were different. He was a boy, and she was a girl. She was the one that bore the wound of nature, and he was scared of her. So this brings me to the story my grandmother told me about Mbe, Ale, and the palm nut. I don't know if some of you ever heard that. We don't have many folktales about the discovery of sex. This was one of the few I could remember. So my grandmother told me that there was a time, I didn't know why she was telling me that story. I was only in 4th grade at the time. I had been sent home from the city, where my parents lived. And I was living with this old woman. Every night, she must tell me a story. And this particular night, she decided to tell me this beautiful story about how there was hunger in the land of animals, and the tortoise decided in the midst of this hunger to get married. So he married his wife, of course. Her name was Ale. I've never been able to tell the difference between tortoise and Ale. Okay, so, and then they stayed. And every morning they wake up, and tortoise keeps complaining that he was hungry. The wife knew that he was hungry, and the wife expects him to have something to eat, but he wakes up every morning complaining of hunger. So one day the wife decides that there must be a ripened palm nut on top of the palm tree, and that they'll have to climb up the palm tree to go and get it. So they got there, As the male, of course, tortoise wanted to climb. The wife said, no, let me move first so you come after me. And then the wife was climbing. And as they climbed, the palm tree was growing taller. And then Nabe keeps complaining of hunger. Then suddenly, he looked up again, and he screamed and told his wife, oh, there's a ripened palm tree between your legs. And the wife looked down and said, really? What are you waiting for? Go ahead and pluck it. Well, I don't think Mbe has ever complained of hunger again since then, because he actually did pluck the palm nut. But then, there is also the Igbo proverb that says, Isi akwụ dara n'ala, edetula aja. I never knew until at some point that it meant the loss of virginity. Isi akwụ dara n'ala, edetula aja. So, but what also occurred to me is that whenever we are talking about the discovery of sex, whether it is in the Igbo tradition or Jewish tradition, Hebrew, or TV tradition, it always has something to do with the most important food crop of the people. So in the Igbo case, it was the palm nut. We use it to eat, and of course, we use it to make the bed in Boko, on which the newly married couple lie. And if you go to the farm and you feel like lying in the farm, you also cut the palm front and use it there. In the case of a popular book of Genesis, the story goes like this. When the woman saw the fruit of the tree, saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate. She also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized that they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. So they ate some apple, and their eyes were opened. That's magical. Okay. Among the teeth, it is that the lady was pounded yam, of course, one evening. And in those days, God used to come down every evening and roam through the village. And this particular evening, while God was roaming around, he saw this lady pounding the yam, and then she was perspiring on her shoulders. So God got carried away and came down to look more. And the person hit him on the forehead. He got angry and went up to the sky. Since then, the sky has been very far away. That was how it happened. So,
2 minutes, please.
Oh my God.
He's still in his preamble, I guess.
I can't believe that.
I'm sure he's still in his preamble, I guess.
Anyway, don't worry.
Don't worry.
The domains of sex and the Igbo. What his ear had heard would have set another ear rumbling. He was the fly on the wall, a secret sharer to conversations that were above his pay grade. One afternoon, he overheard the old woman's voice, cajoling a younger woman whose husband had driven out of their home and replaced with a much younger wife. In a Mekwanwany, the old woman asked the younger woman, silence. She asked again, why is your skin looking so dry, like the skin of a stockfish? In a Mekwanwany, silence. You mean you don't do what makes you a woman? Do you want to be alive and watch your vagina go rust like an abandoned bicycle? If your husband drove you from your own home, did he also ask you to commit suicide? Didn't the Igbo say, "Ma nwaanyị amụtaghị nwa, ya kpara anụ ahụ ya n'aka"? If a woman could not bear a child, at least let her bear a robust flesh. So in Things Fall Apart, Chinua Achebe tells us, as we normally talk in the prudish way of post-Christian, post-modern, post-colonial Igbo, if you touch her hand, she says, don't touch. If you touch her foot, she says, don't touch. But when you touch her waist beads, she pretends not to know. I will tell 3 jokes here about how Igbo girls are often, in these days, advised about not getting pregnant. My mother told my younger sister, in fact, all of them, if a man touches you, you will get pregnant. That turned my older sister into a fighter, and she fought every man on the street, every boy in her class. So my father had to force her to wear PE shorts in Umuahia in those days before going to school. My younger sister is married now with 4 kids. She was told the same thing, and then she developed some kind of anxiety. Anything that touches her, she would say, Hapmaka, Hapmaka. She goes everywhere saying Hapmaka. Up till now, we still call her Hapmaka. And a woman from Umuahia told me that she was told that if a man sees her panties, she'll be pregnant. So when a man invited her home, she got to the man's house and pulled off her panties, wrapped it, put it in her bag, and then came home and told her mother, hey, do you know that man took me home today and I removed my panties first so that I don't get pregnant? I will end with this last joke. The other one is that if a man gets on top of you, you will get pregnant and humiliate your family. So this girl was invited out, and she got there and decided to get on top.